Either you're working a job in an office building, 9 to 5, 40 hours, 50, 60 hours a week, or you're like me, trying to follow your dreams and your passions and utilizing your gifts to help people and to uplift people as well as uplifting yourself and just creating a new world, a new way of living that doesn't revolve so much around exchanging time for energy and a new world where we all get to express our gifts and be a little bit more free. And I'm going to be sharing a lot more about my personal journey because it relates to the work that I'm sharing now, and it's been such a beautiful transformation. And I know I haven't been on here in a while, but I'll definitely be sharing more about my update. I think if you've been following me from my last videos, I moved from Tulum, Mexico, and now I live in Holbox Island. I'm originally from the United States, from New York City. I've been living in Mexico for 5 years, and I arrived in Mexico 5 years ago. It was like a year, was it a year after the pandemic? And it was just so intense living in New York City. And I'm sure you can all imagine wherever you were during the pandemic, I think it was difficult for everybody. But I had been wanting to leave New York for a long time, and my girlfriends invited me to Tulum, and I had never been there, so I just went on my own. And I ended up just moving. I ended up just leaving everything behind and taking a leap of faith and starting a brand new life. I was working in fashion for 8 years. I worked for mass market companies like Urban Outfitters, American Eagle, Express, Hanes, Joe Boxer. I designed like all mass market clothing, mainly women's wear, lingerie, sleepwear, swimwear. I even did dog apparel and children's apparel, lots of different things. And I was really not happy in any of those jobs. And it never was really what I wanted to do. I always wanted to, well, I really wanted to help heal my mother, and this is part of my story and how my business was created. My mother was sick from the moment I was born, and it truly shaped who I am today and who I continue to grow into. And, up until I was in high school, I didn't know that, like, my life or my upbringing wasn't normal. I just thought I was normal, and I tried to act like a normal person. And when I realized that I couldn't, I started to feel toxic shame about that. And I had to take care of my mother. She struggled with drug addiction and she had sexual abuse. There's a lot of abuse that runs in the female lineage, which I've been the cycle breaker, and I'm the one that's like healing all of it for my mother and my grandmother. So it's a lot of weight to carry. In addition to the fact that I had to take care of my mother for 30 years of my life, she died 8 years ago. And yeah, like I said, I didn't even really know that my life was so different. I mean, I knew it was different because I felt like judgment, I felt that shame. Even with like my family, I felt very different and not understood. And I grew up a bit codependent, right? So I didn't really get to have the opportunity to have a childhood and to have my needs be met in the way that a child should, right? Like having that freedom to play and to just not care about things like, you know, sick parents and cleaning and their health. And so that really shaped me, and I developed a very attuned, very unique gift, and we all have our very unique gifts, all of us, right? And so I became very good at sensing other people's emotions, like, because I was working. So I developed a very unique gift to be very attuned to my mother's feelings, her needs, everything, right? But I didn't really have the opportunity to develop that sense within myself of how I'm feeling, what I need, right? So this is a classic example of being empathic. We all have this to a degree. And I was using that, or I was playing out that same pattern for years, up until I moved to Mexico, actually. because I didn't really understand that I was doing it, right? Because it was all that I knew. So I was just, you know, doing what other people told me to do and working jobs that I didn't really want to work and just living a life that didn't make me happy and just constantly feeling tired and drained and just lost. And so my mom died 8 years ago, and that was a huge wake up call. Probably one of the hardest things anyone has to go through in their life is losing their parent, and I had to watch my mom die from the moment I was born. She just continued to get worse and worse and sicker and sicker. So it was a very difficult life for me, and I actually thought she was going to die when I was 12. So from the point of being 12 till 30, every year, every day, I thought, is she going to die? Is she going to die? Because that's what the doctors told us. So it was tough every moment waiting for her to leave. And when she finally did leave this earth, it was still such a huge wake up call, like, even though I was like kind of preparing for it. And immediately I felt like, wow, like things can change in 1 second. Literally 1 second, your whole world can change. And why am I not following my dreams? Why am I not doing this? Why am I not doing that? Why am I, you know, it's really true. So I felt that so deeply and viscerally in my body. And I left my last job in fashion after working at many different places, maybe 10 different places over 8 years. And then I finally put out my own collection, which was what I really wanted to do originally when I first started studying fashion, right? Is to like make my own stuff. So I put out a collection of like festival attire. Actually, some of it is still online. I have the website on my page. You can look at it, and some of it's still for sale. So I finally fulfilled that dream, but I also felt like, all right, after I do this, like I want to leave fashion and I want to pursue my dreams of healing people. And I really developed that desire, I think, from my mom, because she was so sick and I just felt a responsibility to heal her. I felt like I needed to know how to fix her. And that's not a responsibility that a child should have, but I had that and I still feel that, right? So now, meaning like I still feel a desire to help people heal. And it feels like the more that I can help other people heal, I feel alleviated in a way, right? So the people that I help, the women that I help, are women that have gone through something like me, where you've overgiven your energy, your time, and it doesn't have to be so long as my example. It can be much more, you know, simple as like working a job you don't like, being in a relationship you don't like, feeling drained by giving, and not following your purpose. So the beautiful thing is that this trauma, it's not a trauma, it's a gift. It's an opportunity. It's a doorway. It's an opportunity to walk through the door and change, become a different person, decide that you are going to stop doing this that has been unhealthy for you, this pattern, and to choose to trust and be open to discovering how you can transform this beautiful skill that you acquired, that you studied over all this time, even though it didn't serve you, how you can turn that around, unwind it from the toxic patterns, from the toxic ways that you've been giving, and how can you serve and give to others, to the world, create a career, a facilitation career, a healing wellness teacher or business. How can you use those beautiful skills that you developed in a way that nourishes you, that lights you up? So that's what the water therapy is for me, and that's what I discovered 4.5 years ago when I moved to Mexico. And it's so beautiful because my mom has totally been co-creating all of this since she left. I've actually been much closer to her now that she hasn't been here, because now I see her in my dreams, and I see her in my dreams. I get to hug her, and sometimes I talk to her, and I know that she's helping me with this, particularly because, well, the water therapy, it's kind of like going back into the womb. And when you give somebody a session, it's like you're the mother. Like I call them like, oh, they're my water babies. So actually the first day of my training was on my mom's birthday, which is like, that's not a coincidence at all. And my mom is very connected to the water and the wisdom of the water as well. And I feel like I'm carrying this on in my lineage. So the first day of my training, when I held the first person in the water, I felt my mother come into my body. And I felt her pregnant with me. And I felt all of her insecurities, all of her worries and fears, and yeah, just like such a responsibility, and like that she wasn't sure if she could take care of me and if I would be safe. Sorry, they're like rebuilding the roads because it's all sand, all the roads here in Holbox. We actually don't have roads, which I love. But anyway, I felt my mother in my body, and it was such a beautiful activation of like understanding her and like motherhood. And yeah, so she's helping me, she's helping me transcend our story and her suffering and what she went through in a beautiful way that serves me and that helps me to create and give back to the world and people through my gift of being able to hold people in the water and being attuned to them and to sing to them. And it just, it gives me so much joy and energy and happiness, and I never felt that with any of the work that I did before ever. So when I started doing this, I realized like, this is what it means to feel like alive. This is the work that I want to create. Work that doesn't feel like work. And that's like, you know, an old generational belief is like work is something you don't like to do, or you know, it makes you tired, or nobody likes to work. But that's like not how the new world is going to be, and that's not the life that I want to create. So this is what I am offering to guide women through. And I have my container, the Luminous Door, which is starting July 30th. I'll leave the link below. And this is an 8-day experience. It's $22. There's 3 live calls. And this is for women that feel guided towards this path, that feel like they're not on the right path now, and maybe you've had this dream coming back over and over and over again of like, I want to help people heal, or I want to serve in a different way, or I'm just tired.